Hi Khalid, how are you?
Good, good, good. How about you?
Very well, very well. But just been at it. So I thought, why not have a conversation with a person who I've been following for quite some time, and your whole perspective on current affairs, geopolitics, and all has been so intriguing and so fascinating. Because I come from a headspace where you have to be a little logical and rational. So I was like, I need to have a conversation with this guy. So thank you so much for coming on. So today we have with us on the Mentality Mr. Khalid Baig, who is a political commentator, also the co-host of the YouTube show India This Week by Amna and Khalid. I hope I've got my brief introduction of yours correctly. If I've left out something, please go right ahead, Khalid.
No, 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 that's fine. That's a quite accurate description.
Great. So, Khalid, today we are discussing about social media and its influence on the political discourse in the country, and what, as we general citizens, need to make of it. And most of the times, the whole narrative changes because somebody riles up somebody's followers, and the other person riles up the other person's followers, and in the whole process of it, the whole narrative shifts. So, to start off with, Khalid, I just wanted to understand how has the landscape changed the political discourse, and what are the positive or negative impacts from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, see, with the advent of social media and specifically in the last like roughly 13 years, right? With Facebook coming in, Twitter coming in, and Insta, of course, is just for mostly the fun side pictures, the leisure kind of stuff, the parties and all. So Facebook and Twitter, of course, they too initially started off as these networking sites where you met long lost friends, and suddenly everything felt great, and you met new people. Then after a few months, you're like, okay, fine, it's not all that great. So
Right,
let's restrict ourselves to just a few friends, and real life friends can't be, social media friends can't in
right,
general as a rule,
right,
exceptions, occupy the space of your school friends. And
right,
later people also started discussing, they used to share, even Facebook, when it started, about the dish I cooked today, and everyone was one big happy family.
right,
And
right,
then when little politics people started discussing, that is where things started to heat up.
right,
Then they started to get polarized, and then there were proper groups and camps, which
right,
were there on either side of the ideological divide.
right,
So much so, I mean, it became like very set in concrete. Like, okay, we don't talk to
right,
this gang, they don't talk to us, and all.
right,
And that is where social media started dictating sort of the what would go as opinion pieces in the editorials of news dailies, and they would pick up the story which was trending on social media, and give their perspective on it. So and then of course even the political parties woke up to the impact of social media. We saw that first when Prime Minister Narendra Modi leveraged the power of
2014.
social media.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that was the first, he got the head start. He had the vision, and they had a proper professional team set up. And then other, Congress was very, very, what could I say? I mean, they could have done better. They could have, taken the first advantage, but the first movers advantage was something BJP took under
right,
Prime Minister Modi. And then every party also realized that they need to have an IT cell, the much maligned IT cell. Anybody who
Mhm.
wants to dismiss someone is like,
The infamous
the
IT.
infamous, yeah, ye to 2 rupee troll, and like, anything, and nobody has an argument. So 2 rupee troll, ye be troll, wo be troll, everybody's a troll.
Right,
Not that trolls don't exist. There are trolls, anonymous handles who God knows who runs them and all. So every political party has a IT cell. It's just that there is this disproportionate uh, exposure and acquisition of one particular party having an IT cell, as if others don't. And according to their own ideological worldview, they give their perspectives on a particular issue, and their supporters, their believers, uh, their voters think then that's the truth, right? So And of course, it's in varying capacities. A more powerful, bigger party will have a bigger IT cell, and
Right.
a regional party will have. But today, it's a necessity, to have that, to put your discourse across, to put your propaganda across. And again, I'm not using propaganda in a negative manner here.
Mm.
uh, Make what you want of it. I mean,
Propaganda
that's
is actually, it's more of a generally what the term propaganda has a negative connotation nowadays, but otherwise by definition it is to propagate something, right?
absolutely,
Yeah, to get,
absolutely.
so now in the political discourse, unfortunately, when we say propaganda, it has a negative connotation to it, but unfortunately that should be the case, right?
Right,
So yeah,
absolutely.
sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very correct point. Then, so what happens is, like, say a particular incident takes place, right? Say, for example, in Uttar Pradesh. So people like us who stayed for long, you do realize that those so-called fact checkers, quote unquote, who have an agenda and a narrative and the funding to go against the ruling government there, will create a certain narrative of it which favors the opposition or sometimes even anti-national forces, right? And their supporters will lap that up,
Right,
and that will be presented as truth, and then that will come out tomorrow, next day, or very night in
right,
the news media outlets
right,
which share their worldview,
right,
and
right,
vice versa. I mean, of course, even the ones which are pro ruling party, or which are somehow which are anti ruling party.
mm,
So in that, the let's say, not truth, because truth is a very subjective thing, the facts get very muddled, it gets
right,
very muddied, and it's like a prism haze of prism. And to be very not even charitable, to be very fair, an average person who does not share these intellectual pursuits of following news, wanting to understand what's behind the news, what transpired, he's doing his job,
right,
whatever spectrum of the economic spectrum, whether he's super rich, super poor, whether he's middle class, and he will take that information. It's a democracy, right? So he can take any propaganda of any ideological side,
correct,
and
correct,
then later
correct,
those groups on Twitter, then, like I said, then it's their news dailies which pick up that, and then that becomes the narrative.
right, right,
So this happens, which I don't know. I mean, it's just the times we're living in. I would neither term it fortunate, unfortunate. It is what it is, right?
right,
But yeah, what I would see as a positive is that, before the advent of social media, I remember once as a child, I was watching, the iconic Kaun Banega Crorepati,
right,
and uh, Mr. Bachchan was there, and in one episode, I was a teenager, and the contestant was there, and he said to her, "What do you do?" And she said, "I'm a journalist."
mm,
And Mr. Bachchan, cracked a very uh, wry side of joke, said, "Ki, अरे मतलब आपसे तो हम बहुत, we are kind of always apprehensive about
right,
what you guys do."
right, right,
And that comment felt a very little off to me. I was like, but a man of Bachchan's stature, should he have said this?
mm,
But of course, I was too young to comprehend what exactly Mr.
right,
Bachchan was saying.
right,
And now, having seen, because my interest lies in there, having seen how corrupt the mainstream media is, and how you pay, I'm not saying all, but good
right,
sections of it,
right,
they'll propagate whatever they're asked to do by whatever,
right,
money and all that.
right,
I realized that what Bachchan was alluding to, that a lot of times maybe a lot of crap and nonsense, gibberish stuff would have been written about him
right,
without him having the power to counter it,
counter it,
right?
right,
What social media that way has done, it has democratized. There is more a powerful democratic tool than social media, where now people can say, okay, this mainstream media reported this, here are the counters, here are the facts, and I find this bullshit,
mm,
right? And that's my story. Or, someone can come out, a big celebrity can say, this is my side of the story,
right,
right? So that way, I think that is a great churn, and that's actually true democracy, because a kid sitting somewhere in Gorakhpur, a kid sitting somewhere in Ladakh can speak up to as an equal to some Arundhati Roy who publishes some nonsense as, facts, and publishes fiction
right,
as,
right,
facts, and can say that. And that is where some of the former elite, who were these thought controllers, who you could not ever think of, I mean, what they wrote was, it was there. It was the gospel truth. So that, I think, is incredible of social media, wherein it has democratized information, opinion, and everyone is at the same platform. And that confidence that I see amongst the youngsters of India, the ones who are sane, who are, making good arguments, calling out the nonsense, not necessarily, behaving too humble, fake humble. I like that, because that's a more confident nation of saying, okay, it did get printed in the BBC, it did get printed in Z News, but let me try to analyze it and agree or disagree on the merits of the story. So I think that's
Right,
a
right.
big positive.
On that note, is it important to do your own research and to find out things? Does it help in making better opinions on social media?
Yes, yes, it does. But see, again, that depends on individual to individual. I mean, for a lot of people, social media is a confirmation bias tool. I mean, now
Right,
if you look at the fact-checking propaganda website Alt News, right? Uh,
right.
I was initially a supporter of that when I started out.
Me
Years
too.
later,
Me
I
too.
realized,
Right.
yeah. See, we've all been there, done that,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So now supporters of Alt News are like sheep. They want to believe what the guy says, even though he ran a very, very dangerous blasphemy campaign which resulted in 6 beheadings, right?
Right.
And along, he's just the face. I mean, I'm sure that guy can't even type a proper sentence of English. It's the
Right.
other
Right.
communist Islamists who fund that. But they occupy a secular space for their viewers, right?
Right.
For both the Hindu and Muslim populace.
Right.
So,
Right.
so now people are looking for that, or people are looking for the equivalent of that, not even equivalent, but sort of a mirror image of it on the right wing, which would be Sudarshan News, right?
Right.
So they would believe that. But
Right.
yeah, someone who has a rational mind and wants something where he's reading information from couple of news websites which are just there at the press of a button, right? I mean,
Right.
he can follow a BBC, he can follow a Times of India, he can follow a Dawn of Pakistan. Then he can follow certain influencers who, cater to his wisdom, his convictions, his biases, and then he can have a very independent opinion about, okay, I've read these multiple sources, I've read these multiple influences, but this is what I think. So it's up to what an individual makes of it. There are many camps. There is a lot of ghetto mentality as well, but there are many people who, it depends, like I said, who truly use it to, enhance the widen the horizons of their mind, uh, and then take it from multiple sources, and that's only because possible because of social media.
But don't you think, Khalid, most of the people out there on social media don't want to go that extra mile and do that due diligence as far as their own research is concerned, and just like a pack of sheep follow verified Twitter accounts and all of that, and without having to done their own research, because it's scary to an extent where you are a very influential, have close to 1 million followers, a verified account, and you've been all over social media and on the mainstream media. You come on television, on news debates and all of that, and on social media you start following those people uh, without any knowledge of things and without doing your own research, and then going on. That comes to my next question as well. So start to rile up each other's followers, and to at the end of it all, a common citizen, like say suppose me, I'm there, I've just made my account on Twitter, and I'm seeing all of this, and I want to be informed. I want to get the right, correct information. Right. I don't have a left leaning or a right leaning. I am a centrist. I want the correct informed opinion. But when you have these people from the left and the right, the whole narrative changes. It becomes very, very confusing for a common citizen. So either he's following a kind of propagandish narrative, or he's following somebody else who has eventually convinced him that this is correct, this is the correct way to do things. So how where does a normal common citizen get his sources uh, sources from, and like make a very, very informed opinion?
See, that's a tricky one because there was this quote a couple of months back. Elon Musk shared that all news is propaganda, some more, some less. Right? I mean, that's a very. Then we go back to the history of news and how it's not objective, quote unquote, right? So, I understand the dilemma for an ordinary citizen who does a 9 to 5 job, then has his responsibilities in the night, just goes through his social media feed, and then whatever comes up, and he believes, okay, this is the truth. But then that is inevitable, right? I mean, that is like, you will that's the marketplace, right? So in that marketplace, being a democracy, you will see a certain thing, you'll like it. The Twitter feed, the algorithms will promote something like that constantly. Then maybe once in a while you might like something which is contrary to your own ideological leanings, so they will show that. So those are things, I mean, you cannot escape them, and there is nothing that one can do about it, and like earlier, I mean, it was much worse. Like before Elon Musk took Twitter, was like a hotbed, and it was like the fountainhead of the Islamist communist network worldwide,
Right, right,
and nationalist handles would just get shadow banned, and
right,
their tweets wouldn't show. Like
right.
I remember when I started my Twitter account, and this was like 3 years back, 2020 Jan,
Okay,
I guess, or maybe
okay.
2 years back.
So
And
that
I
that
remember,
recent,
sorry,
that recent.
yeah, it's just 2 3 years. I've been
Okay,
on FB for like 13 years, but Twitter is just 3 years. So I remember I shared this video, and I was just like, uh, having fun under the handles of Swara Bhaskar and all that, and just
right.
calling out their hypocrisy. And one of my videos like got like around 20,000 plus views or something, and suddenly what happened for the next 1 year, my followers just got stuck at 1,000 or 2,000.
Okay.
Right? And I don't, I mean, and I'm not saying it should have been more, but then the views which had shown, and the number of followers which used to get added, it never used to reflect. Like if so, it used to show me, अच्छा आज 10 20 follower हुए, but वहाँ पे number पे 5 ही होता था, 2 ही होता, कभी कम भी हो जाता था.
Hmm.
And then I don't know, I just persisted,
Hmm.
and then it like grew up to around 20 30,000, and even today, like,
Right,
it remains very constant at one figure.
right,
Like,
right,
I don't know how that works, but of course, one does see some nationalist handles that I follow. They don't show in my Twitter feed. Maybe the other side also complains the same. I did see some other side also, the pan nationalists complaining that अरे हमें तो shadow ban कर देते हैं, हमारा तो
right.
दिखता ही नहीं है. So the side has that.
Hmm.
But yes, I mean, it's for a fact that I mean, those are now open Twitter files where
Right,
nationalist handles were shadow banned, and they
right,
were censored.
right,
Some were even banned, like Donald Trump was banned.
right,
So, but what can you do after a point? I mean, there's no point sulking about it. I mean, it is someone else's product, and
right,
okay, we don't have this product. We have to play, and at
right,
the end of the day, soldier doesn't cannot have the option of choosing कि अरे इस terrain पे नहीं उस terrain पे. You do whatever you can,
right,
but also shows you that why it's important to have world class products. That, I mean, of course, we are giants in producing service, and all some of the topmost MNCs have Indian CEOs. So that's
right,
great. It's a
right,
great thing. I
right,
don't believe like we should shy away from that and feel अरे नहीं, what's the big deal, उनको बाहर जाना पड़ा. But of course, that meant that their substance was built in India. But yeah, the other level where we need to get more aspirational, like we should have these products, right?
right.
And then sell it to the world and all. But yeah, see, overall, I think the benefits outnumber the negatives. But yeah, that's an interesting point you've raised. That what does a average citizen who in the night just wants to hear something?
Right.
But I think, like, see, at the end of the day, people watch what they want to watch. I mean, again, if you take this average citizen, he comes home, does his 9 to 6, 9 to 5,
Are we too lazy to do our own research and go on Google and find out what's actually correct rather
well,
than
I,
are we lazy?
I don't know. This is going to be
नहीं
controversial.
lazy
I
lazy
think
तो है
as a
lazy
race, we are lazy.
lazy तो है
As
हम.
a race, we are lazy. Yeah, as a race, we are lazy. As
Yeah,
Indians, race, we are lazy. We're very unfit. But
extremely.
corruption is a way of life. Uh, and to be honest, like a lot of this resistance behind this whole facade of there is this communalism, growing communalism of Modi. I think sometimes it's also because you have such a non-corrupt person and who's like resistance to the system which is already built. So
Right.
part of the angst is that only. Maybe that's the majority of the angst, but they don't want to say
Right.
it out, right? So
Right.
yeah, I think in general as a nation we are, but that's changing surely. I mean, I see the post 90 2000 or the millennials as they call them, they seem to be much more focused, and they again, in that there is diversity. I mean, there are some who just want to follow what
Mm,
certain left leaning
mm.
portals would have to say, but yeah, it's yeah, overall I think it balances out. Democracy is chaos, right? So that
Right.
chaos to exists in India. India ke to culture mein
Right.
chaos hai, that
Right.
element is in every aspect of. We wake up in the morning, since we go out on the road, then till
Right.
the night everything is a chaos. So
Right.
that reflects on Twitter also.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah,
lad
there's
jagad ke,
mudslinging on Twitter. Absolutely. You open it
yeah,
and
लड़ जाके, but you will get every side. चाहे वो ट्रोल की गाली दिखे, but हाँ चलो, he also is saying कि नहीं ये तेरा गलत है, तो all that.
true
One thing is for sure, democracy is at its peak, because now everyone can put their point on
on
Twitter.
social
So
media.
yeah, overall I think people also getting more matured.
Mm,
There are more checks also being put in by the systems, government systems, that
mm,
so overall I think yeah, all that nascent stage is also gone.
mm,
पहले वो social media का, where sometimes even crimes would happen. Still, I mean, people will figure out ways, but
mm,
it's like that na, कि every invention of man, ultimately it's people how they use it or misuse it, and that's been the history of mankind, right? So
mm.
social media is just like that, right? I mean, it depends. वो बताते थे नहीं कि बचपन में fire is a good servant, it's a bad master, you know.
Right.
And
Right.
similarly, I'm sure जब टीवी आया था तो they would have had these conversation 100 years before. अरे ये टीवी है, but अब इस पे ये so
Correct.
nudity आती है, ये होता है. So
Right.
similarly, social media is that of this generation. It's that invention where you're like, अरे,
Mm,
but it's there, right? I mean, the benefits are incredible, right? I mean, you can talk to family, friends who are like
mm,
seven seas away. It's not
mm.
even literally. I mean, they are seven seas away,
Right.
and the people call out for help, people call out for connection, and life has become so more easy.
Right.
There are like hundreds and thousands. There are so many businesses that run just because of social media. I mean, social media influencers in itself is an industry because of social media,
Yeah,
right?
there's a proper
So
influencer economy that's in place right now,
absolutely,
which is
absolutely,
about close to 200 2000 crores, the influencer economy.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think overall, yeah, it's a good thing, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, very important thing. Do political parties, should they take responsibility while sharing out message to their followers on social media? I'm pretty sure that every IT cell have their their bosses and everybody. So I do they need to take onus of the fact that they are a political party at the end of the day, and there is a social responsibility uh, uh, on their shoulders. Uh, and in spite of that, I'm not naming any political party here, but I've seen a lot of political parties, mudslinging and berating very senior leaders, the prime minister, or for that, berating the country. To an extent, then where does this and it's not in my opinion, I don't think it's correct, because it leaves a bad taste when you do that, not in your country. You're traveling abroad and you start berating your own country, your own politicians, your own ministers, and all of that. It leaves a bad taste. So do the political parties need to take onus of the fact that what they're putting out on social media might have serious repercussions?
They should, but the fact is, Yash, that it's just a reflection of what they do on the streets, right? I mean, every election we are told that there are these indexes, there are these forms you have to fill, but across party lines, and therein they all become agnostic, right? Otherwise, they are at each other's throats. The number of criminals who have criminal charges against them, they get party tickets. History sheeters are like given party tickets. Muscle men are brought into the party. parties which started with an anti-corruption plank got in some of the worst goons,
Right.
whatever fetches them votes. So when you'll have such people, so that will reflect on Twitter also. You will have such people at some capacity through some connection
Hmm.
on handles which are party handles, and they'll use. And this is something across party lines. You can argue some parties less, some parties more, but overall, it's a reflection of the part of our society which needs, uh, a lot of cleaning up.
Hmm.
So like anything, like I mean, look at the language that is used for the prime minister, right? I mean, it's like pathetic, right?
Hmm.
And then sometimes even at the opposition leader, the other day I read someone said to the opposition leader that he's important.
Hmm.
I was like, what kind of
Right.
language is this?
Across party lines. Yeah,
Yes,
correct.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So that, of course, I wish they were more responsible, but then that response starts from the ground level.
Hmm.
What you are seeing on social media is just a symptom. I mean, it's
Hmm.
what is required is like, I mean, look at the time way sometimes they behave in the parliament and
Yeah.
assembly. I mean, there are young kids, and what do they learn from all that, right?
Hmm.
So that in a overall is a very. I mean, I would love that they change, but. That is just a symptom of what they write on Twitter, get ugly with each other,
Right.
not what like.
So, what as individuals we need to do is, I think we need to be more sure as to what content we consume and be more informed as far as our opinions are concerned when we are offline or probably online when we are having a conversation with people. So, uh, there is more of negativity and more of positivity that way. So, uh, how can social media like be used? Uh, for promoting healthy political discourse by encouraging a constructive debate because I can't see that happening.
Hey, that's a valid concern you have, Yash. That's a very valid concern. But I think the best thing is like, say, whatever the topic of the day, which is trending, think of what it is actually. It's a topic. It's not, pro BJP, pro Congress, anti BJP, anti Congress, pro left, pro BJD, pro AAP. When you raise about that and see it as a topic, and then see the arguments that are given, not the rants or the attacks or the ad hominem, but see it as a topic, then you'll realize that when you want to see handles like that who are discussing it as a topic,
Hmm.
it's the perfect thing. You look at topics as topics in a democracy. Like there are 30 odd states, and
Hmm.
there are like 10 different political parties across the spectrum, and judge any policy for what the policy is, judge any issue for what the issue is, right? Because
Right.
ultimately it affects all citizens. But
Right.
uh, I understand, see, at the end of the day, no individual on this planet is neutral, right?
Right.
Someone's extremely biased, someone's less biased, someone's more biased, someone has more conviction, everybody has a slant, right? So if one is very honest to himself also, that what is my slant, what are my leanings, where do I come ideologically,
Hmm.
but that said, one needs to maintain that decorum, one needs to maintain that moderation even when he's talking to his fiercest ideological opponents,
Right.
and consume basically, okay, what both sides are saying, and then just pick up what people on the topic are saying, right?
Right.
Definitely, I mean, in the world's most populated country and with the most number of social media users for any country,
Right.
you will
Right.
definitely have so many handles. वो
Right.
अलग बात है कि everybody then wants to confirm his bias, but चलो वो एक democracy में वो भी आपको हक है.
Right. Right. So, but otherwise, like, are we doing enough to mitigate the negativity?
See, negativity is it's a very subjective thing. I mean, to be honest, like I remember when I first time went to Twitter, I was like, my God, this is like a war zone, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
cannot
Yeah.
use
Every
this.
day. Every day. True.
Yeah. But then after a while, I think you just get used to it. It just becomes it normalizes, right?
Right.
So I think it's what you really want, right? I mean, Facebook is it's like the mid one. It's like neither a war zone nor an Insta. Insta is like, where people are holidaying, and other people are getting jealous, and someone's
Right.
wanting to just post it or someone's just having fun,
Right.
so it's what you want, and uh, if you have the appetite for it, if you like it, then if you're a voracious writer who wants to speak about things genuinely, and after a point, if you think some troll is getting too much under your skin, you don't need to put up also, you can just block, right? So you don't need to take that self-flagellation and take all that.
Right.
So negativity, I think, like I said, I mean,
The only
that's a
Khalid,
very
the only reason that I asked you this specific question was because uh, not everybody has a thick skin, right? You are a public
Mhm.
figure and you have a social media handle there, and by virtue of being a public figure, you have to be out there. Because of engagement, or probably you have to gain more followers, you have to get your content out there and all of that. But most often than not, when uh, things don't at times shit hits the fan, and you attend somebody's meeting, and your followers say that this isn't correct and all of that. It has a mental effect on you, and it on your mental health also. So
Mm.
people at times are not able to cope up with that. They start blocking, or they go off that uh, uh, specific platform. So why do you think that it's important to call out healthy discussion rather than getting into the negativity, and at the end of it, it affects the mental health of individuals.
Mm. Actually, I'd want to answer that question from my own, lived experience on social media. Like I said, I've been on Facebook for 13 years. I've been on Twitter for 3 years. I've been on Insta for 2, 3 years, something like that, right? So, first of all, to anyone who's watching this, that don't make the error of making your social media like your core life. I mean, that's you're heading for disaster. Don't make it your core life. Don't make it the very existence of life. Even if you're a social media influencer, even if you run a YouTube channel, even if you are working on, don't make it.
Hmm.
It's a bit of a paradox. ये है भी और नहीं भी,
Hmm.
you know. So you usually see people who make it their everything,
Hmm.
who are like too much on it. I mean, it's ironic that I mean, so my social media app is on and I'm
Hmm.
doing my work and I'll be tweeting and all. But what I mean to say is that don't take your social media life
Hmm.
too seriously, beyond the point. And don't become obsessed just with one particular topic. It could be something as benign as cricket. So I was just Mm, I was telling actually my YouTube partner just in fact today or maybe yesterday, I'm not sure. Amna, that there is this one cricket group I follow, and after a point I find it a little bizarre that there are people there who are just 24/7 talking about cricket. I mean, I'm also very passionate about cricket, but after a point, that's not normal.
Right.
It's like anything. Someone's fixated with ills of one religion and he just goes 24, 24, 20. What do you say? He says this guy's fanatic, right?
Right.
But somehow we say, अरे नहीं ये cricket की नहीं ये मतलब इंसान can't be just fixated with one thing. There is like your normal life, your family life, your
Right.
life with relatives, with your friends, extended friends, colleagues. You can I'm not saying everybody needs to have the same intellectual pursuits. किसी का कुछ होता है, किसी का कुछ, but
Right.
have that. But you can once you're just there, then you're bizarre. And maybe also for a section of socially awkward people and even some anti-social people, social media gave them that platform where they could uh, be behind the wheel of anonymity and give vent to their this.
Right.
But that's also problematic because it's not helping you overcome your real problem of socializing with people and all that.
Right.
So there needs to be no inbuilt mechanism. There needs to be your own choice. That
Right.
when you follow a lot of topics, when you discuss a lot of things, then every day you are also not hell bent on one particular thing and 24 hours just saying, "Arey nahi, nahi," just the same thing, which is what ultimately extremism is, right? Like
Right.
there is this, I don't know, there's this quote by I don't know whether it was Winston Churchill that the extremist is one who cannot change the topic.
Right. Right.
So I
True.
think it's just you, man. I mean, it's just you as an individual. who needs to just diversify his stuff, you know. I mean, I think ultimately Insta, of course, is much more okay. I mean, people may say, अरे नहीं यार देखो इनके कुछ intellectual person, जरूरी नहीं है, मतलब हर एक को जिस चीज से खुशी मिलती है करने दो, as long as he's not, you know, coming close to your nose, right? So that would be my advice, like just you know, space out and have a lot of fun on it, and whatever you're passionate about, tweet that also, but just don't get into that zone of being fixated with one thing. I see that with a lot of big, very huge mega YouTube channels. Beyond the point, you're like, I mean, what kind of society do you want to create? What kind of mindset and what kind of, you know, ideologically, I'm also very stubborn, right? I'm very, once I'm convinced, I'll stick to it. Whether a million people in my immediate thing feel, no, this is a non-conformist who doesn't believe, that doesn't matter. But I cannot dehumanize those people, and I would hope they don't dehumanize me. And you know, I have other things also that I want to talk about. So it's all up to the individual how he leverages the power of social media and doesn't let social media overpower him.
So I think that's very essential to have that right equilibrium, that right balance between visibility and keeping that headspace that you want to be in, that sane position as far as social media is concerned. So I think, it's very important that that we take that call also in. And I see a lot of like we just discussed about these influencers, Khalid, and where you have so much. So do you think that money also plays, because there are a lot of brands who started coming onto these influencers, and because there's so much moolah, itna paisa hai to yaar kisi ka bhi dimag kharab ho hi jayega. My point being, so anybody would, and they are out there, like you just said, that don't run after likes, and it doesn't let's not make it your life and all of that. But unfortunately, more often than not, in the influencer economy, this is what it is. It's all about the money. When you have brands throwing millions at you to promote a 30-second reel for a brand integration promotion and all of that. So how does it work out? You have to be in a very, very sorted headspace.
Yeah, see, you know, a lot of these Islamist communist influencers, right, who have a lot of following and millions on social media. Some of them also, you know, pretend to be journalists and fact checkers. And all. At one level, you're like, oh, you know, uh, this should not happen. But this fact is, see, people in a democracy deserve to have the heroes they choose. You know, the people who follow them, the people who fund them, are basically saying to these people, yeah, you echo what we believe in, right? So I don't feel there is any victim here. It's a mutually symbiotic association, right? And they believe that.
Right.
Fair enough. I mean, again, democracy gives you that right as well. So
Right.
there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, ultimately people choose that. I mean, it's just a, in fact, it's a beautiful thing of like, अभी आप पूरे देश को तो चल के देख नहीं सकते ना, मतलब अच्छा ये बंदे का ये लीनिंग है, ये इसका ये है, इसका वो है. But social media is that microcosm of where you just through a 1 hour feed of looking at different people, you can get at least a small idea of okay, चलो इतना इसका सेक्शन है, ये इसमें बिलीव करता है, या ये इसका है, ये उसका है. सो देयर इज नथिंग व्हिच यू कैन डू अबाउट इट. ओके, सो ट्रेंडिंग ये है कि अगर आप ये पर्टिकुलर रिलीजन को बैश कर रहे हो, and every day the guys turning out the same content, like same topic, same thing, the
Right.
guys, you know, watch lakhs, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, it's his democratic right.
Right.
But then it makes me wonder कि अरे यार, मतलब एक ही टॉपिक पे बंदा कितना बोलेगा और उसी आइडेंटिटी को लेके, चाहे वो कोई भी हो, राइट?
Right.
बट खैर, again, at least one thing is confirmed, that democracy is the most alive and the most kicks not dead. So
Right.
people can, you know, talk on the same topic and have like 10 lakh subscribers, and you know, people are talking.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, somewhere, yeah, it's a little unfair on the guys who start out and they actually believe that, you know, people don't have agendas, they don't have narratives to, you know, peddle, and there are
Right.
certain topics they'll never touch.
Right.
and they're never supposed to humanize the ideological opponent, or and so ठीक है, I mean, also speaks about the collective IQ. No, it's not that great overall
Right.
for the nation and
Right.
humanity perspective. Yeah, that's how it is.
Great. So, finally, just before we wrap up, Khalid, finally, what advice would you give individuals who want to engage in a political discourse on social media in a responsible and probably a more, say, more productive way?
I think I already answered preemptive answer with my answer, but I'll
Yeah.
still yeah. Like I said, I mean, expand. I mean, of course, I mean, if politics is your passion, do follow it, and follow people in politics, but expand that also. I'm not saying that okay, you just go and uh, do this thing, or okay, if I follow one from the ideological camp I like, then I need to follow another I don't like, and get that. But be open to at least some amount of views which challenge your views, whether they are on agenda, whether they are on a payroll, that doesn't matter, right? But be open to that, and diversify your topics of interest on every social media app that you are, that way you will not become, there are so many people who are depressed because of all this. They like entire day they're fighting, and it gets very heated, and then it wreaks havoc with their mind space and
Right.
personal life, because it's just the only thing you're doing. And then there are nasty comments from here, nasty comments from there. There are
Right.
some disgusting trolls and who's cross the line. But if you are diversifying and you are looking at multiple topics,
Right.
then it's your like your normal life, no? मतलब आपकी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी
वो चल रही है
में
correct.
आप एक ही, हाँ, आप एक ही चीज थोड़ी हर पूरा दिन में डिस्कस करते हो कि अरे आज ये पॉलिटिकल इशू हो गया, चलो भाई अब नेक्स्ट 20 घंटे हम इसी पे बात करेंगे, so that way your feeds will also show different topics,
Right.
right? So never get fixated with one idea, how much ever you are passionate about it. It's great to be passionate. I'm very passionate. It's great to have strong convictions in the wake of being a loner also there.
Right.
No
Right.
problem. But it's important to also seek out that balance in yourself which you seek from the world.
Right. Right.
So that would be my advice to any youngster starting out on social media. And yeah, most importantly, from my experience, uh, there is a hell lot of difference between real life friends and social media friends. You might, out of 100 odd, get, if you're lucky, one or two who will translate into
Right.
great friends that you have. And
Right.
do not lose your school friends and college friends over social media. I mean, that of course that maturity should be from both sides. If you
Right.
have a school friend with whom you shared so much of love and the best time of your life, tomorrow just because you support BJP, he supports Congress, don't make
Okay.
it an issue
No,
where
on that
you
and on
cut
that
that
note,
relation.
on that note, I just want to share before we just wrap this up. Uh, my one of my closest friends. I used to back in the day. I used to have this Honda Activa in school.
Mhm.
I used to pick this friend of mine, Muslim.
Mhm.
Uh, closest, and is a sweetheart. He comes from a political background. His grandfather is from a place called Chandausi in western UP, near Muradabad.
Mhm.
So his grandfather was a member of parliament. He's into politics and all of that. And uh, about 3 years, 4 years back, when we were having that CA NRC discussion, so
And
I just gave him
yeah,
a call. It's damn funny. I'm not kidding you. I asked him, "Well, तो मजाक मारा मैंने बोला कि क्या दंगे करवा रहे हैं?" So I didn't mean it. Please understand. I
I
didn't
know.
mean it.
Yeah,
I have I can take that kind of a leverage with him because he's my childhood friend and I can say certain things, right? So
I
I
got it.
picked up the
Yeah.
phone. I said कि क्या हो रहा है क्या? He's like, अरे दंगे तो होंगे, गलत बात हो रही है. So my point being कि stop justifying violence. I like he's my closest friend. I was like कि अब मैं क्या बोलूं? So I'm just saying, what you're saying is absolutely correct, spot on. And, it's very unfortunate. I've seen a relationship. I went to his wedding. He just got married about a year back. I went to his wedding, and we had a great time. We had a laugh now. And I'm just saying that, this is actually a fact that, in your social network also, if you have diametrically different political opinions and all of that, you can't stand each other. It's very unfortunate.
True. No, that's the thing, and don't get into arguments with your childhood friends. And, like, it's a life you can keep parallel, like one
Yeah,
part
yeah,
where you
yeah,
are, yeah, doing that. Like, that would be my advice for youngsters, right? Like, don't lose friendship over silly, like,
yeah, yeah.
social media. It's ironic I'm saying silly because
Right,
I do, I run a channel and I do tweet a lot. But what I'm saying is that, don't, first of all, don't take that social media fame in whatever capacity you are, whether you have a few thousand followers, lakh, or whatever millions.
right,
It's not real world. It is there, and yet it's not there. So it's a paradox, right? So, but don't lose social media, school friends or social media friends. Social media, I hate to say this to youngsters, but you don't make real life friends who you can call at 2 o'clock and say, I'm in a problem. Can you come in?
of
And you don't
course.
want to get disillusioned and hurt tomorrow that, oh my God, he was backing me with all the political debates. Now what's happened?
Right,
No, see, ideological allies are good. You need them because you share that worldview. But personal life and ideological allies, you need to understand, can be two very, very different things, right? So
right,
the person who might not be ideologically inclined to you but knows you from childhood, is in your
right.
family, doesn't agree
True.
with you, but he's the person who will, ultimately be with you during those times. So don't take that, don't get, into those, don't fool yourself into thinking that, real
True.
life relationships of that.
True. True.
So they will, for some they do, a few sections, but it's not like how school, college, uni, or colleagues is, where, every second, third person, yeah, you have that kind of comfort and all that.
Hmm.
So the
Perfect.
way you are outside, ideally in a workspace, in a business where there are going to be consequences,
Hmm.
and you live with your differences, right? And even if at times you make a little bit of discussion and you're very tempered with your words,
Right.
do that on social media as well. And someone's trolling, troll back also.
Hmm.
You're having fun, but yeah, ये कुछ लोगों को ना, मतलब they are like, they think on social media, it's like so bizarre.
Hmm.
Me and Amna keep on joking, once we finish the recording and behind the scenes, like, they think like they're running the universe, these big conspiracies against India, and they're like,
True.
then we should do this, and this amount of delusion and, narcissism and grandeur, like, अरे यार, calm down, इतना तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर को नहीं होगा कि, अब हम Brahman chala rahe and we are running this
Correct.
civilizational.
Correct.
Yeah, it's good to have, that if you have that kind of mindset, like which I have, Amna, that you want to do things which are bigger than you and, which you feel passionately.
Hmm.
But don't think that now you're like just doing it so everybody owes you something, and like you're doing something so they don't realize what you're doing. No, at the end of the day, you're doing that also, and I'm not using selfish here in a wrong connotation. You're doing it for yourself selfish because तुम्हें उस चीज से खुशी मिलती है.
खुशी
किसी
मिली.
को क्रिकेट से मिलती है, किसी को बॉलीवुड मूवी से दिखती है, जिसको जो मिले तो. all that.
Hmm.
So those would be my last words on that.
So thank you so much, Khalid, for taking out time and recording this episode for the mentality. I hope we do this sometime again at your convenience whenever it's feasible.
Sure, sure. Also, I would like to compliment you. You know what made me say yes to you. Like, we do like get sometimes a lot of YouTubers say, you can come to
Right.
our channel. But I like the fact that, like, see, that's the way you should use social media. You are starting out. I wish you all the best, and
Thank
I hope
you.
you grow. But I like the way that you just directly approached. You saw a thread of mine, and you said, I'm just starting out. Could you just like come? And I like that. You went. What I really liked was that, कई बार ये होता है कि अगर हम किसी को पूछ ले, जो मतलब जब वी वर स्टार्टिंग आउट, वे लाइक, अरे इसके तो इतने फॉलोअर्स है, रिस्पॉन्ड भी करेगा नहीं. बट द फैक्ट दैट यू वर लाइक, नहीं, आई विल ट्राई, आई विल जस्ट आस्क, एंड एंड आई रियली लाइक दैट. दैट वाज वेरी bold, and that was very nice also, कि you're not like, अरे अब कैसे करूँ नहीं करूँ, so I think that is also a very good approach of social media. Like how, I would like and
नहीं,
call you and not think
just
that
to give you
just start.
दिन ये है दिन ये प्रॉब्लम भी है, ये अच्छी चीज भी है. एक तो आई हैव अ मीडिया बैकग्राउंड माई सेल्फ.
When I saw the profile X times now is what I saw.
या.
Yeah.
सो आई एम एन एडवर्टाइजिंग गाय माई सेल्फ. तो हम बहुत बेशरम है.
Right.
वी डोंट गिव टू हुट्स.
No, no, I don't. No, I
वी
don't
आर
think
वेरी
it's
शेमलेस.
Besharam.
आई एम एन
I,
एडवर्टाइजिंग.
I don't think so. It's Besharam. I mean, the most popular Indian celebrity, Shah Rukh Khan, has a very nice thing on his Twitter. I don't know if you've noticed it. That whatever you want in life, don't ask, go for it.
राइट.
So a lot of it's like यही सच्चाई भी I might sound like this uncle now to all these youngsters. You have to go out, like ऐसे
ट्रू.
कुछ आएगा नहीं कि अरे अब कैसे पूछूं क्या
ऐसे
मांगू,
कुछ.
and
ऑफ
you just
कोर्स.
have to go out there and see. ठीक है, ज्यादा से ज्यादा बंदा रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करेगा, ज्यादा से ज्यादा बंदा like we've called some very big people time to time.
या.
Many have responded, many have not responded.
Yeah.
Big deal.
I got
What does it matter?
I reached out to somebody really big yesterday. I mailed I had mailed across to that gentleman, and unfortunately said कि, because of prior commitments, it won't be possible. So I was like, that's okay. I mean, it's a learning curve for everybody. So I think
Yeah,
yeah, it's a part and parcel of the whole media gambit, so to speak. That's okay.
it's a part and parcel of life everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect.
All right, Yash, all the best, and
Thank you
hope
so
you
much,
do well.
so much, Khalid, and take care. Oh, hope we can do this again sometime. Thank you so much.
Surely, surely. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Take care. Thank you.